that we cannot foresee. But for those that we can certainly tell when there's going to be a diabetes situation. We can tell when there's hypertension. There are tests that can be taken, and so we want to invite women into a system. We want to see them. We want to have a regular relationship with them and contact with them so that we can see complications before they arise, and we don't force them to the emergency room, which is happening to many women in this country.
And Jill, actually, one of the key things that the statistics shows that it affects more African American women than it does in the white demographic. Is that simply an economic issue?
I'm sure it's more complicated than just economics, though I'm confident economics is part of it. Take, for example, in New York City, in the South Bronx, the rate of maternal death is roughly twice the national average, so it's just unacceptably high. It's not because people are illegal, it's not because the services aren't there, it's because they don't use them. They don't go during pregnancy to get the kind of care they need. You know, each of those 5 causes of death has an announcement. There are signs that you're going to have difficulty. If you don't have a trained provider during pregnancy, you'll never know what they are. So I think it's a complicated social set of issues, but economics clearly is going to play a part.
Christy, just a thought here. We've got just over a minute left. It was sad to read at the end of your documentary, you put up that by the time a person has watched your documentary, about 60 women will have died from complications relating to pregnancy, which means about 30 women, by the time they watch this show, will have died for the same reason. I wonder, what could the average person do? What would you suggest those watching this program could do to try to help?
Well, I think most important is to share this information. There are a lot of people out there that don't even know any of the statistics. So sharing the statistics and letting people know that there actually is hope, that this is something that can be done. We know the solutions. As Jill was saying, you know, political will is often the thing that's lacking the most, and that's something that we have incredible power to be able to do. Let our voices be heard. Tell our representatives in our government so that we can get things changed. I think that's, you know, make some noise is a big part of it. But then, you know, there are a lot of organizations doing a lot of incredible things on the ground. And so looking into those, you know, we're trying at Every Mother Counts to be a resource for people who are interested in making those kinds of contributions. There's a lot to be done and a lot of great things being done.
Well, Christy, thank you very much. And Jill, thank you too for the debate. And thank you for being with us with your questions and comments. If you want to know more about these issues, make sure you watch Birthrights, an 8-week series on maternal health around the globe that starts on Tuesday on Al Jazeera. And remember, you can follow our program on Twitter. We'll keep you notified on upcoming shows. And of course, you can always send us your questions and comments to pose to our guests. On the next show, fading influence as the hunger for democracy sweeps across the Arab world. How much will the United States really matter to the region in the future? Make sure you tune in for that. From me and the team, we'll see you next time. But now we leave you with images from Christy Turlington-Burns' documentary film, No Woman, No Cry.
No woman, no cry. No woman, no cry. No woman, no cry. No woman, no cry.
The army has to prove they have no intentions of hijacking power and of keeping any remnants of the old regime.
From people making the news.
The earthquake happened over a year ago. Now you want to come back and help your fellow Haitians?
To those it affects.
If Washington doesn't begin to help stabilize the government, it will create a backlash.
Behind the headlines.
Neither the United States nor China can hurt the other without hurting itself.
Is the inside story. At this time on Al Jazeera.
A history of guerrilla warfare, a place on the global stage. They were an organization created for a stateless population. But before fighting for their land, why did the PLO fight for independence from their Arab neighbors? Chronicling the turbulent story of the struggle for a Palestinian homeland. PLO, History of a Revolution, at this time on Al Jazeera.
Al Jazeera, Frontline.
The situation is getting increasingly worse. The food is just not getting here. People are starving.
It had been a peaceful day, but then this.
Many Greeks have deep economic concerns, but there are also groups who have a deep antipathy towards the police.
Once on the ground, the soldiers of Mexico's 94th Battalion continued their mission to find and destroy marijuana crops.
What Gaddafi has done, he dismantled or destroyed the system in the country.
As chaos and violence sweep across Libya,
they're living through fear, they're living through a nightmare.
They're using ammunition, live ammunition.
AlJazeera hears from those who have lived in fear of Gaddafi's regime.
We don't want him to leave. We want to arrest him. 42 years is too much.
Libya, a state of terror. At this time on AlJazeera.
Personal blogs by professional journalists. blogs.aljazeera.net.
Rearming for the battles to come. Libya's rebel forces lose ground as Gaddafi's military steps up attacks. It's 9 GMT. I'm Darine Abu Gheda. You're watching Al Jazeera live from Doha. Also on the program, will Western air power protect Libya's rebels? The U.S. president says Washington and its allies are still considering a military response to the crisis. A car bomb kills at least 20 people in eastern Pakistan. We'll have a live report with all the latest. New military trials at Guantanamo Bay. The controversial prison that Barack Obama promised to close is back to business as usual. Well, the Libyan leader, Muammar Gaddafi, has sent a representative to the opposition council to open negotiations on him stepping down. State TV later denied any meeting had happened, but a spokesman for the opposition says there has been contact. Meanwhile, Colonel Gaddafi's forces appear to have pushed back rebels from strategically important towns. The Libyan leader's battalions have repelled groups trying to oust him from his coastal strongholds, hitting them hard. Latest reports say the town of Ras Lanouf, which is held by rebels, has been shelled on Tuesday morning. And that followed the pounding of rebel positions there on Monday and in the nearby town of Bin Jawad. State television has shown pictures of the military in what they say is the recaptured western town of Zawiya, just outside the capital, Tripoli. And, as we just heard, Libyan State TV has denied reports that Gaddafi sought an agreement with the rebels that would allow him to step down with certain guarantees. Charles Stratford has all the latest.
Evidence of how Muammar Gaddafi deals with traitors. It's claimed these are Libyan soldiers who were murdered for refusing to shoot rebels in the mountainous region west of Tripoli. The pictures were sent to Al Jazeera by a rebel group in the area. A survivor of the killing says the men were rounded up, their legs tied before being shot in the head or back from close range. The pictures emerged as rebel fighters perhaps face their greatest challenge yet, as they take stock of what seems a slowing of momentum in their campaign. Libyan State TV says these